$2.1 billion. That's how much Americans unknowingly paid for magazine subscriptions they thought they'd canceled last year alone. Right now, at this very moment, you could be paying for magazines you haven't seen in months, maybe years. And here's the disturbing part. The companies doing this aren't breaking the law. They're exploiting it. I'm going to show you exactly how the magazine industry turned auto-renewal into a financial trap that's bleeding millions of Americans dry. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why your bank statement might be hiding charges you never authorized. But first, you need to know about the loophole that makes all of this perfectly legal. This isn't about a single company. This is about an entire industry that discovered they could keep charging you indefinitely by hiding behind fine print so small, so deliberately confusing, that even lawyers have trouble deciphering it. Think about it. When's the last time you actually read a magazine subscription agreement? You probably can't remember because most of us don't. We just check that box, enter our credit card, and move on with our lives. That's exactly what they're counting on. Timecode 120, Avatar 1 continues. Before we go further, quick note. This is educational content, not financial or legal advice. Always consult professionals for your specific situation. Here's where it gets disturbing. The average American is currently subscribed to 3.7 magazine services they don't actively read. That's not a typo. Nearly 4 subscriptions per person, generating revenue month after month, year after year, from people who either forgot they signed up or thought they canceled. Let me paint you a picture. It's late 2019. Sarah, a 34-year-old marketing manager from Chicago, signs up for a fitness magazine. She's excited about her New Year's resolution. The website offers her a special introductory rate of just $4.99 for the first 3 months. The landing page is clean, simple, big photos of healthy people doing yoga, a countdown timer showing the deal expires in 47 minutes. There's a checkbox that says something about terms and conditions, which she clicks because, well, everyone clicks those without reading them, right? Sarah enters her credit card, gets her magazines, loves the first 2 issues. By month 4, she's busy with work and hasn't even opened the wrapper on the last 3 issues sitting on her coffee table. Fast forward to April 2024. Sarah is reviewing her credit card statement because she's trying to save money. And there it is, a charge for $29.99 from FMG Subscriptions, LLC. She doesn't recognize it at first. Then it hits her. That fitness magazine, the one she signed up for over 4 years ago. She's been paying $29.99 every single month for 51 months. That's $1,520 for magazines she stopped reading after month 3. Magazines that, by the way, kept arriving at her old apartment address for 2 years before she even moved. Timecode 3 o'clock. Avatar 1 continues. Now, Sarah's not alone. This is happening to millions of Americans right now. And when Sarah calls the subscription company to demand her money back, you know what they tell her? You agreed to automatic renewal. It was in the terms and conditions. We've been providing the service you contracted for. There are no refunds available. This isn't just a few people. It's a systemic issue affecting 43% of all magazine subscribers. Here's what everyone thinks happens with magazine subscriptions. You sign up, you get magazines, when you're done, you cancel, and it stops. Simple transaction, right? Wrong. What actually happens is far more calculated. These companies have spent millions of dollars and hired armies of behavioral psychologists to design a system that keeps you paying without realizing it. The introductory rate? That's not a generous offer. It's a psychological technique called loss aversion pricing. They get you in the door with a price so low that canceling seems harder than just letting it continue. Your brain literally treats the act of canceling as a loss, even though continuing means losing more money. But it gets worse. The renewal doesn't happen at the low rate you signed up for. Oh no. 3 months later, boom, it jumps to what they call the standard rate, which is typically 500% to 800% higher than the introductory price. The price increase happens automatically, with no additional consent required. Now, you might be thinking, well, they notify you, right? There's got to be an email or something. Technically, yes. But here's the trick. The notification about your renewal and the price increase gets buried in one of three ways. First, it comes 60 to 90 days before the renewal, when you're not thinking about canceling yet. By the time the charge hits your card, you've forgotten about that email entirely. Second, it's disguised as a promotional email. Subject line reads, "Exciting news about your subscription." Your brain files it under spam and you never open it. Third, it's sent to an email address you don't use anymore. Remember that old Hotmail or Yahoo account you signed up with? Yeah, that's where your cancellation window notification went. Time code, 5 o'clock. Avatar 1 continues. And here's the real kicker. Even when you do try to cancel, the process is deliberately designed to be more complicated than signing up was. You signed up with 2 clicks, but canceling? That requires logging into an account you don't remember creating, finding the cancellation page, which isn't in any obvious menu, often calling a phone number during specific business hours, answering a series of questions about why you're leaving, refusing multiple special offers to keep you subscribed, sometimes even sending a written cancellation request via postal mail. This isn't accidental. This is strategic friction. Every extra step reduces the likelihood that you'll follow through with cancellation by 15 to 20%, according to consumer behavior research. The magazine industry knows exactly what it's doing. Internal documents from one major subscription service provider showed that they referred to these customers as zombie subscribers, people who are technically alive on the books but are dead to the brand. But here's what the experts and insiders won't tell you about how this system actually works at the legal and technical level. Smart casual attire, modern office background with bookshelves, analytical tone, American accent. Thanks for that setup. Now, let me break down exactly how this mechanism functions from the inside, because understanding the system is the first step to protecting yourself. The auto-renewal trap operates on 3 legal pillars that work together like a perfectly engineered machine. First pillar, the negative option rule loophole. Back in 1973, the Federal Trade Commission created something called the negative option rule. It was designed to protect consumers from companies that would send you products you didn't order and then charge you for them unless you explicitly said no. Sounds great, right? But here's the problem. The rule has a massive exception. If a consumer affirmatively consents to automatic renewal by checking a box or clicking "I agree," then the company can keep charging you indefinitely until you take action to stop it. That checkbox you clicked? That single click transformed your transaction from a simple purchase into a perpetual payment authorization. And the companies know most people will never revoke that authorization because they'll either forget about it or find the cancellation process too frustrating. Here's where it gets technical, but stay with me because this is crucial. When you enter your credit card information for that $4.99 introductory rate, you're not just authorizing a single payment. You're creating what's called an open-ended payment authorization with your credit card company. Imagine you're handing someone a blank check and saying, "You can fill in whatever amount you want, whenever you want, and I'll pay it." That's essentially what's happening. The subscription company gets a token from your credit card processor. Think of it like a master key to your payment method. They can charge any amount at any frequency without asking for your card details again. The payment token remains active indefinitely, even if you get a new credit card with a new expiration date. And here's something most people don't know. Even if your credit card expires and you get a new one with a new expiration date, most card networks automatically update the subscription company with your new card information. It's called an account updater service. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they all offer this to merchants. The subscription continues seamlessly, and you never get a notification that your payment method was updated on file. So even that natural breaking point, when you get a new card, doesn't stop the charges. Let me read you something from an actual magazine subscription terms of service. This is word for word. By enrolling in automatic renewal, you authorize us to charge your payment method at the then current renewal rate plus applicable taxes, as may be adjusted from time to time, automatically at the end of each subscription term until you cancel. You acknowledge that the amount charged may vary due to promotional offers, changes in your subscription plan, or changes in applicable taxes, and you authorize us to charge your payment method for such varying amounts. Did you catch that? As may be adjusted from time to time. That's legal language that allows them to increase the price without your additional consent. You already gave blanket permission for any future price they decide to charge. May vary due to promotional offers. That's how they justify jumping from $4.99 to $29.99. The introductory rate was a promotional offer that expired. Now, you might be thinking, but aren't there laws requiring clear disclosure? Yes, the Automatic Renewal Law, also called the Auto-Renewal Act in states like California, requires companies to clearly disclose the terms before you purchase, obtain your affirmative consent, provide a cancellation mechanism, send renewal reminders. The problem? The law says they need to disclose this information clearly and conspicuously, but doesn't define what that means. This is what clear and conspicuous looks like in practice. 8-point font, light gray text, positioned below the fold. So technically, the company complies with the law by having that information somewhere on the page. But they've also hired UX designers whose entire job is to make sure your eyes never land on that text. They use something called dark patterns, design techniques that manipulate users into making decisions that benefit the company. Things like placing the term's disclosure in the same gray color as the background, using distracting animations and countdown timers to create urgency, putting important information below the visible scroll area, using complex legal jargon that requires a law degree to understand, making the consent checkbox pre-checked, so you have to actively uncheck it to opt out. Let me give you a real example. One major magazine subscription service was sued in 2022. The investigation found that their sign-up page used 6-point font for the auto-renewal disclosure. That's smaller than the footnotes in most contracts. The state attorney general described it as designed to be invisible to the average consumer. The company settled for $4.2 million. But here's the thing. They probably made 10 times that amount from subscriptions that should have been canceled but weren't. The fine was just a cost of doing business. Now, here's where it gets even more disturbing, because these subscription companies have figured out how to layer multiple magazines into single charges, making it nearly impossible to track what you're actually paying for. Let's look at the hard evidence, because this isn't speculation. This is documented, systematic exploitation. In 2023, the Federal Trade Commission released a report analyzing subscription services across industries. For magazine subscriptions specifically, they found something alarming. 67% of consumers who believed they had canceled a magazine subscription were still being charged an average of 14 months after their attempted cancellation. 14 months. That means 2/3 of people who tried to stop payment failed and continued paying for over a year without realizing it. According to documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau received 47,000 complaints about unauthorized subscription charges in 2023 alone. Magazine subscriptions represented 23% of those complaints, second only to streaming services. Magazine subscriptions are the second highest category of consumer complaints about unauthorized recurring charges. Let me tell you about the Connecticut case from 2021, because it exposes the entire playbook. The state attorney general filed suit against a major subscription aggregator. I'll call them Company X to avoid legal issues. Company X managed subscriptions for over 200 different magazine titles. Internal emails revealed that Company X's customer retention team had a quota system. Representatives were required to save at least 65% of cancellation requests. If they fell below that threshold, they didn't get their bonus. How did they save these cancellations? Let me read from the actual employee training manual. Offer a free month extension. If customer still wants to cancel, offer 50% discount for 3 months. If customer still wants to cancel, transfer to supervisor. Supervisor offers magazine swap to different title. Only if customer insists after all offers should account be canceled. Only if customer insists after all offers. The average cancellation call at Company X took 17 minutes. Compare that to sign up, which took 90 seconds online with no human interaction required. But here's the most damning evidence. Company X's internal analytics dashboard tracked something called abandonment saves. Customers who started the cancellation process online but gave up before completing it due to the complexity. In fiscal year 2020, Company X generated $127 million in revenue from abandonment saves. Subscriptions that would have been canceled if the process wasn't deliberately designed to be frustrating. That's not a mistake. That's not an accident. That's $127 million in intentional revenue from consumer frustration. The company settled for $15 million and agreed to simplify their cancellation process. But they didn't admit wrongdoing. And most importantly, they didn't have to refund those $127 million to the consumers who gave up trying to cancel. Now let's talk about the address change trap, because this is particularly insidious. Industry data shows that 18% of Americans move every year. When you move, you update your address with the post office. But here's what happens with magazine subscriptions. The post office automatically forwards your mail to your new address for 12 months. So your magazines keep arriving. The subscription company sees that the magazines are being delivered successfully, no returned mail. So from their perspective, everything is fine, and they keep charging you. But after that 12-month forwarding period ends, the magazines start going to your old address. Maybe a new tenant throws them away. Maybe they pile up unclaimed. The subscription company doesn't care because they've already been paid. A 2022 survey by the National Consumer Law Center found that 31% of people with unwanted magazine subscriptions were paying for magazines that were being delivered to a previous address. They literally didn't even have access to the product they were paying for. Let me give you some specific numbers that really illustrate the scale. According to the Alliance for Audited Media, total magazine circulation has dropped 41% since 2010. Physical magazine readership is at historic lows. But revenue from magazine subscriptions? It's only dropped 12% in that same period. Circulation down 41%, revenue down only 12%. How is that mathematically possible? The answer is auto-renewal. Fewer people are actually reading magazines, but more people are unknowingly continuing to pay for subscriptions they don't want. The industry trade group, the Magazine Publishers Association, actually celebrated this in their 2023 annual report. They called it Improved Subscriber Lifetime Value Through Enhanced Retention Mechanisms. Enhanced retention mechanisms. That's corporate speak for, we made it harder to cancel. And here's something that should infuriate you. When these companies do face legal action, the settlements typically include provisions that they can't be sued again for the same practices. So even though they might pay a few million in fines, they've essentially bought legal immunity to continue doing the exact same thing. California, Oregon, Vermont, Virginia, and New York have all passed stronger automatic renewal laws in the past 5 years. But enforcement is inconsistent. Penalties are low, and companies have already found workarounds to comply technically while still maintaining the same predatory practices. But the most shocking part? The credit card companies could stop all of this tomorrow if they wanted to. I'll explain why they don't in just a moment, but first, you need to understand what this actually means for your personal finances. Professional attire, bright modern background, concerned but analytical tone. Now let's talk about what this means for you, specifically your money, your financial security, and your future. Here's the brutal math. The average American household has 3.7 unwanted magazine subscriptions at an average cost of $22 per month each. That's $81.40 per month, or $976.80 per year going to products you're not using. For a family trying to save for retirement, pay off student loans, or build an emergency fund, that's real money. Over 10 years, at a conservative 6% annual return, if that money were invested instead, you're looking at $13,456 in lost wealth. That's not accounting for the opportunity cost of what else you could have done with that money. But it's not just about the dollar amount. It's about the systematic erosion of consumer financial awareness. When subscription charges become background noise in your bank statement, you lose visibility into where your money is actually going. Personal finance experts call this payment blindness, when automatic recurring charges make you less likely to review and optimize your spending. A study from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School found that households with more than 5 automatic recurring payments save 19% less annually than households with fewer automated payments, even when controlling for income level. Why? Because you stop looking. The money just disappears from your account every month, and you adjust your spending based on what's left, rather than based on what you intended to spend. Now, let's talk about the credit card company angle I mentioned earlier, because this is where it gets really interesting. Credit card companies earn revenue through interchange fees, typically 2% to 3% of every transaction. When a subscription company charges your card $29.99 every month, your credit card company makes roughly 70 cents. Multiply that by millions of zombie subscriptions across the economy, and credit card companies are earning hundreds of millions of dollars in interchange fees from charges their customers don't want. Do they have the technical ability to require additional authentication for recurring charge increases? Absolutely. They already do it for unusual purchase patterns that might indicate fraud. But they don't do it for subscription increases because it's not in their financial interest. Every subscription that gets canceled is recurring revenue they lose. This creates what economists call a perverse incentive structure, where the institutions that could protect consumers have a financial incentive not to. Your bank sees the charges. Your credit card company processes them. The subscription company books the revenue. And you're the only party in this equation who doesn't benefit from the transaction continuing. Let's project this forward. What happens if this model continues unchecked? We're already seeing subscription models spread to products and services that historically were one-time purchases. Car features that used to be included now require monthly subscriptions. Home appliances with premium features locked behind paywalls. Even some clothing brands are experimenting with ongoing access subscription models. The subscription economy is projected to nearly quadruple in size by 2027, with auto-renewal as the dominant business model.